All right, what's up, Migo like geeks and freaks? So normally I do this from the toy room of solitude. Today I decided to do this from the quote unquote game room that I just redid with ripped out the shitty carpet that was in here I put in 20 years ago, and laid down a nice laminate wood floor, moved a bigger table in here for my daughter and friends to come in and play games. And then I went and got a bunch of used furniture off Facebook Marketplace, and I've stuffed the room. Well, one half is pretty much her games and Legos and Pokemon stuff, and then just a couple over here, a little bit of my old and some new nerdy Dungeons and Dragons stuff. So I figured since I got this guy in here, we picked up yesterday from Home Depot for half price, I'm gonna have to turn him down because he's going to be a little annoying. There's a few colors right now. He's set the green. I'm going to actually turn him off because he's going to get in the way after a little bit here. See if I can get him shut off properly. I think I know the right way to do it. Okay, I think I got him. Yeah, I got him. Okay, so he goes to lights only mode. I thought I'd do it from him. He's actually not just going to be for Halloween. He was half price, and so I said, fuck it. He is now going to be a permanent fixture of the room, and kind of makes it a little bit easier. All right, so here's what I got today. Let's see what we have. This package came in. This is something, I had one of these as a kid. There were 2 Dungeons and Dragons set made. They also did Star Wars. I think it was made by MPC, if I remember correctly, and they were called action sets. So it was essentially plastic versions. There were models that you could paint, yet you didn't have to permanently glue them together. They were kind of dioramas with sets in there. So they had a bunch of Star Wars ones, and they go for okay money. Some aren't that expensive, but for whatever reason, the Dungeons and Dragons ones are wickedly expensive. They had the one called Dungeons Invaders, which I picked up today, and I'm going to show you in a moment, which is awesome. And then another one called Orc War, which I lost out by $1. So to the guy who got it, because I lost by $1 on eBay, enjoy it. I'll have to keep looking, but this is the hardest one to get. And I paid out the ass for it. I'm not going to lie. I really paid out the ass. But this room is, I kind of turned the lights down, but there's some things going on over here. We've got, there's some Dungeons and Dragons. There's some old stuff. You can't really see it, but there's a handheld. I think that's the Mattel handheld game up there. I've got the electronic Dungeons and Dragons, and I've got some other games, and I have one of the old versions of the board game. It's a little hard to see because the lighting in here sucks. This is not done professionally. Unfortunately, unlike the King of Toys, Mr. Davey on this is done like shit. It's basically done pretty raw. But let's get into this and see what it is. I was so excited to get this. And today I got the notification was delivered, and my daughter had dance class. I'm like, do I skip her dance class to go home and get this package? Because I was so worried someone would steal it, but nobody comes here. No, I can't skip my daughter's dance class for this shit. And it's really, all it is just basically it's a plastic set. I'm going to show you. It's a plastic set that actually can also become, this is really live, Max. Max is saying this is really live. Max Overnighter, ladies and gentlemen. Max Overnighter, infamous for being #1 Batman collector in USA. That is correct. We were just talking a few minutes ago, and hopefully Max is going to be doing some live soon on our new Facebook group, The Toys We Love. Very happy to say that after 2 weeks, there's about 150 people in there, which is kind of cool because we don't really advertise too much. If we don't really advertise, just kind of inviting people to be good enough to spread the word. So Max does some really good stuff. He literally is in the Max Bat Cave, which has his own room. It's just Batman out the wazoo. Also has, if I'm correct, I don't want to give too much away, but Max also keeps his bar downstairs, which is pretty cool. And Mrs. Overnighter, does not give him a hard time. All right. So this is shrink wrapped, but the shrink wrap's ripped, and I'm seriously thinking about taking the shrink wrap off so I can see what's inside. So this is the there's a part of me that says I should. So what I probably will, what I'll probably do is leave it in for now. I'll do another video when I get brave enough to rip it up. Okay, so this is it's quite large. It's probably about it's almost 2 feet across, maybe 20 inches, 22 inches. That's what she said, Brian Sanchez, who's not here right now. but this is the Advanced Dungeons and Dungeons Invader Action Scene Kit. This kind of sucks because I really should take the ceramic off to see the light. I'll have to post some pictures later of it, and I'll put some links down the bottom for stuff you can check out. But yeah, this is the very cool set. The artwork is fantastic. You've kind of got this. Let's see, would this be a yes? This is a dragon over here, and then you've got this treasure, and you've kind of got this fighter here. Now, I was informed today that this is not a dragon. What's behind me, and it's definitely not. Matter of fact, somebody in my office told me that it's not. I said, how the hell do you know the difference? Because he's right. It is marked as a wyvern, I guess, or a wyvern. I always say a wyvern. He says because dragons have 4 legs and wyverns only have 2. So he does have a pretty cool tail. It took me about an hour to get that set up. It was a bit of a bitch. I'm not going to lie. I actually watched a couple other people on YouTube putting together complain about the same thing. For example, the cable that is supposed to secure it is at least, Jesus, at least 4 or 5 inches too short. No matter how hard you stretch that, it ain't happening. So without breaking it, it's good in here. It's not going anywhere. It's going to live in the room. I mean, it's literally, you might not be able to tell, but it's literally right next to my head. I mean, it's about, I don't know, 12 inches. And as you can see, it leans forward. So it's pretty cool. But I don't leave that on. Usually I leave the lights on. Like I said, it goes blue, red, or green, and it'll just light up. So we'll leave that on. Unfortunately, it doesn't flap its wings, but it makes noises that do. All right. So this is a dragon. Now, if you take a look, it might be a little hard to see. They've kind of got this base diorama play set, right? And if you think about the old models, and this is MPC. Yeah, it is MPC, I'm pretty sure. Yes, it's MPC. It's right there. It's huge. They would do models, military models. They have tanks and soldiers, and they have kind of like what looked like a battlefield. Well, they did the same idea with this Dungeons and Dragons set. They actually made 2 Dungeons and Dragons set. They made this Dungeon Invader set, which is a favorite of mine. And then they also made the Orc War set, which is, I had it somewhere on here. Here it is. Here's the Orc War. Now, I can't remember if I had one or both. I'm starting to think I had the Dungeon Invader set, but maybe I had the Orc War set. I don't remember. But it's got some really cool pieces. The figures, from what I remember inside here, and I haven't opened it, but the figures in there were actually probably remolds in plastic of some of the lead miniatures that were put out at the time. I think they were by Grenadier. I'm not sure. I have to look. Matter of fact, I'm 99% sure that's the case. Maybe somebody out there has more information. Oh, Vorred in the house. Brian Sanchez stepping in with 5150 Toys. Vorred. Hey, Brian Vorred from Maximus. Love Vorred. If you guys don't know who Vorred is, you're going to have to go back on this channel and look at some videos. Maybe, was it like 2 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago? Yeah, we had all these guys in here doing Vorred, which was a little ridiculous, but they were just coming posting Vorred. I'm sure there was some kind of spam trying to get you to sign up for some ladyboy shit or something. I don't know. But yeah, but they have all kinds of plastic miniatures in there. And, you know, the funny thing is, like, you know, I don't play a lot of Dungeons. Matter of fact, I never really played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. We kind of left the country and came back when I was 12. My parents had gotten divorced. I didn't know anybody. We were living in a neighborhood. It wasn't too far from where we'd originally been before we left, but I didn't know anybody. And I ran into one of my friends. Jesus Christ, I think I was 7 when we left. I came back, I was 12. So we weren't too far. So I ran into him. He's like, hey, we do this thing on Friday nights. We were like 12, 13, 14 years old. He's like, we played Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. He's like, well, everybody brings something. You bring a bag of chips. I'll bring a bottle of soda. He'll bring a bottle of soda. He'll bring Doritos, whatever. And then we sit down and we play. But the thing is, we'd have our moms or drive us to one of the guys' houses and we'd sit down to play. And most of the time we never really played. We took everything out. We never really played. But I kind of fell in love with the idea of the miniatures and painting. And I still have a majority of my metal miniatures from when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, I have some over here, which are kind of funny. That I mentioned that because I forgot. But yeah, this is just one set. I still have the boxes for them. It's ridiculous. I don't know if the papers are in there. Yeah, the papers are in there. I think I must have glued these in or taped or something. I probably glued them in. But these were unpainted miniatures, and at some point, I decided to paint them when I was a kid, and I've held on to them. These things are ridiculous. Some of them go for ridiculous money now. They really are. And if I'd known then, only what I knew now, you know, that kind of thing. Where is your robe or your costume with the animal fur and horn? That's an excellent idea. Sanchez, next time I will need to get that, like a Viking helmet, right? With like a fur robe. That would be pretty funny. But I fell in love with it. I love the books. I still have all my original books when I was 12. I have the original books from the game when I was in 6th grade. I mean, it was just, to make a long story short, it wasn't just a game for me. I was very, at that time, my parents being divorced, didn't really know where I fit in, didn't know anybody. My mom was working, Jesus, she was working 4 jobs. She was working 4 jobs and going to school for nursing. So it was me and my 2 younger sisters. And I mean, it was a lot of time that, I was very, very school oriented, straight A student, all that stuff. I didn't talk much, unlike now. That kind of thing. I mean, extremely introverted, but this was a place where I could escape. So I used to get up on Saturday mornings and I would walk into Red Bank, usually with my youngest sister. She would come with me and we'd walk. It would take us, I don't know how long it would take us, maybe an hour or so to get there. It was just, I think it was a couple of miles, but we'd walk in, go to this hobby store, walk around, and I'd have maybe like $10 or $15 to spend because I had this really bad paper route. So it's free newspapers. You have to fold like 1,000 of them, put in plastic and throw them, and nobody wanted them. Yeah. And they pay like $15 for like 10,000 papers. So I'd go and spend it, buy miniatures or books, whatever. So it just became a place for me to escape. Like I said, never really played. I just kind of leafed through the books. I drew dungeons, tried to capture it. I had some of the magazines. They're still up there from 1980 and 81, called Polyhedron. Old D&D magazines, gaming magazines, but mostly D&D. So I kind of fell into that and just fell in love with it. And I just kept everything. Got a little older, still didn't play, never sat down with anyone to play. Talked about it a lot and then bumped into a friend or became friends with someone. And he said, "Hey, we played this game. You like D&D?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Play this game called Pathfinder." I'm like, "What is that?" And then it's kind of like D&D, but we play on the computer. So basically, it's D&D, but there's the gaming board is all digital. So you can move your piece, whatever. Anyway, so it's a pretty cool game. It's a little faster paced. It's taken me a while to catch up. It's been 2 years. We play like once every 2 or 3 months. And it's pretty cool. The guy who runs it is in Germany. He's an American guy. And then my other friends are all over, which is kind of neat. So we get together once in a while and we do this and play for a few hours. And it's a great escape for me because my life is so ridiculously just piss poor sometimes, and stuff like that. So it's an escape for me. So it has deep meaning for me in that it took me out of a lot of those moments when I was just a kid and didn't know anybody and very, very, kind of introverted. So I didn't talk to a lot of people. As you can tell, I probably didn't go to a lot of parties in high school. I didn't go to any parties in high school, shit like that. Completely introverted. So all that being said, kind of grew up and so on, but this has just stuck with me. And the idea of just having this kind of really cool diorama set that you could turn into almost it's almost a play set, if you will. And I did have the Empire Strikes Back one as well that they had, which was really cool because it little tiny Star Wars ships and so on. And I think it was like on Hoth or something. But this was just great. I just had to have this. I kept looking and looking, finally popped up, and I'm like, I'm not losing this shit. Now, of course, I did bid on the other one, the Orc set, but unfortunately lost by $1. I was so busy watching this. I lost on that. And they do have this interesting thing here. They have these, I don't know if you have these, and I think this was back in the day. They had these golden, I don't know if you guys ever saw these golden bones tokens, and collect these, cut them out, and then I believe there's a form inside where you can send them in and you could get like a free kit. I don't know what the kit was. I was a kid. Stranger Things is actually the Lou Melga. I never saw Stranger Things, but apparently that show kicked off D&D again. Is that show set in the 80s? Is that the premise? It's a bunch of kids in the 80s because they're all playing Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, that kind of relaunched it, I guess, today. Is it because Lou was it is brought to you by Lay's Potato Chips. Bring them to your next D&D event. That's fucking hilarious. That's hilarious. That's so fucking funny. But yeah, so I did watch something the last couple of months. I think it was over the summer, July or August, and I believe it's on Prime. It's basically the history of Dungeons and Dragons, how TSR acquired them. And I think they talked about Wizards, but they talked about just this game in the 70s, and these guys just got together and they hired a bunch of guys in this like broken ass warehouse, like holes in the floor and shit. These guys were just drawing art, and all the artwork on the original books and so on. These guys were painting them. They said, "I'll paint this, paint that," and they went through it and said, "Oh, they didn't expect it. Just exploded. The game exploded. It grew so fast, and I guess TSR came in and bought them, and they were clearing out the old warehouse where the guys were, and they're throwing everything out." And somebody called up and says, "Hey, man, we got all these like original paintings in here. Do you guys want them? I think they're yours." And they were getting tossed out, and somebody saved them, and now they, a couple collectors bought them. They were like $3,000 for the, painting that's on the cover of the Dungeon Master's Guide or something. But there was so much cool stuff. I mean, there was a lot of tie-in. Again, these also go for a lot of money. When I was a kid, I always had plastic dinosaurs. Dinosaurs was like another cool thing when I was very young that I liked. But they also made those packets of those. They weren't quite dinosaurs. They were monsters. And now they're called Chinosaurs, obviously, because I guess they were made in China. But they had all these monsters in there that weren't dinosaurs. And a lot of those monsters were, I believe they took them from the Dungeons and Dragons manuals and recreated them. Like the Bullet Monster. I'm trying to think what else was out there. Jesus, there was a bunch of them. And now like these things that were like, 99 cents for a bag of these things, they're now like, $20 to $40 for one single plastic monster. Eventually I want to acquire those too and get them on the collection and so on. But I really want to open this up. I think should I open it? Fuck it. Let's do it. So worst comes to worst, when it goes down in value, we're just gonna peel back. What, you having a heart attack? I'm gonna tell you, I don't normally like taking shit off like this. Not so much for it devalues it, because I don't really collect for value. But yeah, we can kind of wiggle that back on at some point. We'll just kind of shrink wrap and kind of put that back on if we really need to. But I like the idea that it's original. There's a better shot of the box. You get a much better thing. But let's look inside. Now, if I remember correctly, none of this is painted. So it's all molded like models. I think it's on, and it's on Model Tree. So the idea was you would get these. These are all the characters, the pieces, the bridges, the treasure. Everything is in here. Oh, here you go. Okay, here's your, it's a model kit, but suppose it was an action model kit that you could play with. Here's your play set. There's one of the main characters, which is the dragon, I guess it is. There's a baby dragon. There are dragon eggs. Let's see what else is in here. Yeah, this has never been opened before. Well, it's getting open now because if I die, fuck it. Nobody else is going to want it anyway, right? But I like how they kind of did this old kind of gothic font, if you will. And so you have these, they talk a little bit about the characters you put together. You can obviously, let's see what we have. Who's in here? We've got there's a doorway, there's treasure, there's an orc warrior, a bard, a fighter, an illusionist, a gargoyle, a dwarf warrior, a multicolored shrieker, bones, and so on. What else is in here? We have a female magic user, snakes, skeleton, carrion crawler, halfling, and elf. So the idea was they were taking Dungeons and Dragons figures, remolding them into plastic, and then going ahead and putting them into the set. Now, as you can see, here's the base. I'm going to be very careful because it is styrofoam plastic, which means they crack. Doesn't weigh shit. But you can see here's the base, and the idea was you would paint this shit, or you paint this up, and you can see here there's like a little molding there's a little molding here where you would put the door. There's another place here you put a door, and then the idea was that I guess your team here would go into the dungeon and they face all different things. Oh, this must be for the free. This is for the free stuff. Okay, so here you go. Golden opportunity tokens to get a bonus MPC kit free. So you would cut those dinosaur bones off I showed you, and then you had the ability to turn them in for other models. Let's see what we get. Wow, I can't see these. For 10 tokens, this one actually comes with 8. For 10 tokens, you get a helicopter, a Corsair plane, an Ajax destroyer, World War II combat figures. 15, you could get planes. Ooh, it's a Snap Mustang Max, 132 scale Snap model kit of the Ford sports car. It is an older. It's the pre-Fox body. I forgot what they call that. You can get MG, scale model of the classic English sports car. Wow, I didn't even think they made an MG model. You get a Stegosaurus. What else get for 20? A Firebird, planes, Corvette, Star Cruiser Interceptor, torpedo boat for 30, an AT-AT classic walking Star Wars character vehicle, Corvette Snow Speeder for 40. Oh, it's okay. So for 40, the Battle on Ice Planet Hoth. Okay, that's another one of these sets. And that's one of the ones I definitely had. It's another one of these sets you paint put together. Sports car, space shuttle, Cuddy Sark for 50, airplanes, sinking the Bismarck. For 50, you get the Dukes of Hazzard car. And the last one for 100, General 125th scale Civil War locomotive, the 112th Christie steam fire engine, or a Bentley classic racing car. So this was kind of cool. And then you would just set, so you could get, all right, it was $1 for postage and handling. My God. Print on the side panel of every specially marked MPC kit, you'll find from 2 to 10 golden opportunity tokens like those shown below. They've got wheels, they've got military, they've got Navy, I guess, or they got Army, Navy, Air Force, I guess, if you will, or wings, planes, and of course the bones. So that's pretty cool. That's actually a really cool kit. Hey, MPC, here are my golden opportunity bonus kit tokens from MPC kit boxes. My check or money order for $1. Payable to golden opportunity. Please send me my free MPC bonus kit. Honestly, I would have collected Fording at the Battle on Ice Planet Hoth, but this is pretty cool. So this is, to me, this is really, it's nostalgia more than anything else. It won't mean shit to you unless it's something you collected, but everything is still on the trees. These are remodels. If I remember correctly, the figures are pretty much Grenadier characters from back in the day. So the artwork on this, I love. It's going to be amazing in this room if I can find a place for it. I think it's have to go above the fireplace, the boxes. Because I mean, you've got the skeleton just hanging. For us right here, the skeleton hanging by his neck on the chain. All kinds of treasure. You've got, actually, there's 2 characters. There's a bard. There's this female figure. She looks like a bard. She's got a lute hiding behind the fighter. You got this dragon. I mean, this is just, I love the shit. TSR, the Game Wizards, 1980. Wow. Trademark of TSR. And then they have some guys who actually did some paint jobs on the set. So, yeah, this is the kind of shit that, to me, and honestly, that period of time in my life was so bad. It was so just a mess. Between trying to deal with the parents' divorce, being in a place I didn't know anybody, all that shit, like just completely lost. I was never a bad kid. I didn't do anything bad. I was always straight A student and all that stuff. Believe it or not, yes, I was, even though I have a big mouth now. But yeah, it was just one of those things that back in the day, I don't know, this stuck with me forever. I mean, at my age now, I'm still talking about this shit. It's crazy to me. It's just crazy to me to think stuff like that. So there you go. But that's it. That is basically what I have for today. I don't have much else. Who else is talking? Let's see. Open that stuff. Yeah, I am opening stuff. It had to be open. I'm sorry, Sanchez. It really had to be open. This plastic wrap, it's just fucking shrink wrap. It's already ripped up the back. The hell, I want to see what's inside. It's the inside that's the memory, Sanchez. The inside that makes the difference, not the outside. Italian streaker. You guys are absolutely savage. You guys are savages. So on another note, yeah, we're going to look at hopefully doing a live in the Toys We Love group. I said it's our new group. Hopefully a live. If not a live, we'll do a pre-recorded. We'll get a bunch of us together. And we'll kind of introduce the clan of the cave bear there that we have, if you will. And see if we can't get everybody. There you go, Sanchez. Better, Sanchez? See, it's back to where it was. It was already ripped. This is no worse than it was. It's fantastic. It looks great. So all the cut is on the back. And there you go. Nobody will ever know. Oh, that's coming off. So we're going to say bye to that. There you go. How do you like it? Very nice. Very nice. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We truly appreciate it. I hope you guys take some time, get into our group, The Toys We Love, on Facebook. It's a wonderful, wonderful group. This channel is no longer tied to the Migo Like page. We let that go to let the nuts run the nut house. Not all of them, just some of them. Just kidding. We decided to start a new group just for differences of opinions. We thought that would be good. All right. Who's on there? Oh, custom I got here. So I guess I missed this one. Well, I'll be happy to give you a quick live recap. Boris back here. He has been turned off. He was digging in over my shoulder. Welcome to turn off if you'd like to see. But this was really what we were talking about. Was this MPC Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Invader set, which, yeah, I don't want to go through the whole thing. It's a very depressing story of my childhood. And then I was talking a little bit about some of the original Dungeons and Dragons figures that I still have to this day that were painted when I was like 12 or 13, I think it was. And I still have a lot of the books and so on. It was just a period of time where I was just lost. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. I was great in school, but I was kind of just a lost kid, very alone. And this kind of like kept my time busy by painting miniatures and going through the books and just this world of just almost borderless opportunities, if you will. All right. Yes, nerd. That is correct. You know what, Max? Instead of Vor Red, I think the new shout should be Nerd Red. I think it should be Nerd Red. All right, guys. Anyway, this should be up on the YouTube channel. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And thanks for coming in. And Max and Sanchez for always busting my balls. Cue the Lonely Man music. Hold on a second. Let's turn on Boris, shall we? That's his new name. It just kind of came to me just now. Let's see if we can put him on. Is he on? I gotta change the mode. Hang on. Okay, I think this is it. Let's see if it works. No? Oh, there we go. Here's Boris. He's literally right next to my head. This will be in this room. This is not coming out of the room. This is staying in the room. It will be in this game room. So like I said, normally go downstairs. It's just going to keep going off, but there's some of the you know what? Maybe I'll show some of this shit while we're here. Let me kill Boris for a second. Why not? Because he's just going to be a room. Okay, turn him off. All right. So I showed some of these things before. I already showed you guys. I showed you guys some of the some of the pieces, some of the figures, but this is the old, and it works. This is the old original. I think this is Mattel Dungeons and Dragons. I showed this on another video, but I'll show you it. Instructions, everything is in it. It still works. It's an interesting game to play. It's not like a regular video game. Obviously, it was like click, 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 trying to figure things out. It's just nuts. That you can get at Home Depot, Custom God. It was $400, but it was on sale for half price. So I went in yesterday and picked one up. They had a few left at my Home Depot, and I'm like, I'm getting that. I wasn't buying any more Halloween shit, but I did say that for this room, I needed something. And they had an 8-foot, I think it was an ogre, the big club, and he was really bulky. I'm like, oh, he'd be cool. And I went back, he was gone. I said, nah, the dragon's just better. If I had room, I would have put both. Technically, I could have put the ogre over there. It would have been pretty busy and it would look cool. Maybe if I find one cheap enough at another Home Depot, I'll go ahead and get that. But the room is kind of half mine and half my daughter's. I'll show you something else I picked up while we're here, shall we? Why not? This Mattel also. I forgot who did this. This is another Mattel. So the handheld Dungeons and Dragons. This is actually the game board. This works. All the pieces are here. I never had this as a kid. I remember seeing the commercial. I never had it. It was just one of those things that I'm like, you know what? It's classic D&D. You got to have it. I have a few other, there's some Dungeons and Dragons figures that they had out. I have a few of those. I don't have a lot. I don't really collect them, but I got a couple of them over there. Like War Duke. Actually, Stankus gave me War Duke Sanchez. But then I have War Duke on the Hell Horse or whatever it is, and some of the other stuff. And then I've got over here Jesus, I've got, let's see, we have, these are my original, yeah, these are my originals. I mean, they're not, I mean, they're old from when I was a kid, but they're not like, I mean, maybe, what are they? So, yeah, no, they could be like 34 years old. So they're not first editions. This was the first Dungeon Master's guide that I bought. You can see it's barely, the binding is barely cracked. It's still in amazing shape overall. It's cool. I think this is a third edition. I can't see any of this shit. First of all, it's not light enough in here to see it. And let's see. This is the revised edition from December 1979. So I think this would be like the second. I think this would be the second, well, revised edition. But this is, yeah, this is listed from 1979, although this one probably came out in, no, this actually says 1979. December 9. Okay, so this is a revised edition from December 1979. So that's what, it's almost 47 years old. The other one that I bought, I think I bought this at the same time, or I might have gone back once a week with the little bit of newspaper money that I had. I mean, when I tell you we were poor, we were fucking broke ass poor. I'm not kidding. Very, very poor. I did not come from a background that my father had the money, and we got divorced. My mother was, she just didn't have a lot. This is, okay, this I think is the 78. This is the fourth edition of the Monster Manual. But all these paintings, like I just showed you, if you watch that, it's on Prime. I forget what it's called. Just look up Dungeons and Dragons. You'll find it. It's like the history of D&D or something. And all these paintings, you could see the guys who did them. They talk about it. They're like, yeah, I just took this job painting. And I'm like, I was just painting monsters and getting paid. It was great, and then how the company got taken over. But this was probably my favorite because this is just it's just a long compendium of monsters. And a lot of the monsters, if you will, that are in here were remade into figures by Grenadier. Lead back in the day. They're plastic now. I'm not a big fan of the plastic. I prefer the lead ones, but they look like the images, which are cool. And then you had other companies like Raul Partha. If you guys saw anything Raul Partha, they were making miniatures. I thought they were much better. They did some really cool stuff. It's actually funny. You sell blister packs of metal miniatures, and they had one. It was kind of like they used to do a thing in medieval times where they would take basically like it was almost like a wagon wheel, but it was big, and they'd put it on a pole, and then they would hang people by their neck, and they would just spin around on it. And this particular lead miniature had a skeleton with the neck, and they were very hard to get together because I think it was super glue. I mean, here I'm a 12-year-old kid trying to figure out how to super glue this shit and paint it. And then they had another one, the guy, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I wish I had mine. I don't know where it is. I saw that thing sell for $360, not in the package, open. Later in life, this would be, I don't know when this came out. This was this next book that came out. This is, when the hell is this? This was 1983. And okay, so this is, I think this is the original edition. So this is the Monster Manual 2. It's much, more, not realistic, but it's got that much more, less cartoony look than what's here, right? Which is pretty interesting. Matter of fact, they did do something with this. I forget. Somebody recently, I saw something where they turned this, I don't know if it was a dice tower or it was a cup or something. I remember seeing this somewhere. And then as we went on, and again, I just bought the books. I just looked at them. Then, of course, we had Deities and Demigods. And this is from, what is this from? This is 1980. I guess this is, I don't think they made more than, well, if they made more than one edition, they didn't at this point. So this would have been the first one. This is Deities and Demigods, which was cool. Then the Fiend Folio, I love that artwork. It's pretty cool. This was, 1981. And this would be the first, if they ever made extra editions, I don't know, but this would be the first edition of that. But the Dungeon Master's Guide, I have the third edition. The original ones, they go for hundreds of dollars if they're in even okay shape. This is the Oriental Adventures, which 1985, and the same thing. This was just basically, yeah, I do keep going and going and going. That's true, Sanchez. This is Oriental Adventures. This was another one that we have. And of course, I've bought the original basic set, which came in the box. I've lost the box, but I have the original dice and I have the original manuals for that. And then they have like stacks of Polyhedron magazine. They're all black and white. I think it was like $9 a year. And I think you got 6 copies that came every other month. And I remember begging my mom she could just send it for me. I mean, like I said, we were broke ass poor. So that was a big deal. I was like, Mom, go out and earn the money. As a kid. But anyway, yeah, that's the kind of stuff. And then I have more miniatures and all that stuff, but that's all back there. And then I bought some more modern edition books just to kind of fill up the bookshelf and make it look better. But yeah, but that's what it was about back then. And this was my childhood, if you will, during that period of time. It was either working and doing this, and that was it. So now that we've shown all that, you've seen all the cool old stuff. That's pretty much it. We're going to end it on that. Say thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope everyone that's here has gone into our group, our new group, The Toys We Love. It's a really cool group. It's open. We don't limit anything except being a complete obnoxious a-hole and threatening people. On that, it's an open group, and we highly encourage discussion. All right, everybody have a good evening.